In this lesson, we're going to be animating our 3D text with a camera to the speech of our narrator. Okay, so we left off here where we have that but statement, and now we're ready to bring on the text that says humans and our activities. So that's just the next part of our script. Now, this next part I want to do using a 3D camera, so it'll be really easy to just kind of animate around. So what I'm going to do is actually create a new composition to do this, and we'll just house all of the 3D camera stuff in that new comp. So let's go ahead, come up here, and we'll just hit the Create a New Composition button. All the same settings, except let's just call this 3D camera movements. Go ahead and say OK. And I'm going to go ahead and grab that pale orange solid, so we'll copy that and paste it in here and lock that layer. So now we're ready just to build on top of this, and then we can turn this layer off on the outside later on. Okay, so let's come up here and get started. So grab your text tool, and we're just going to type out the word humans. And then I'm going to make another line that says, and our activities. Now, this is obviously way too large. I'm going to go with our Adobe Garamond text for that second line. We'll make this smaller, and then let's track that out, 400. Now let's grab both of those layers and kind of recenter them here in our composition. Okay, so right about there. Let's bring this over here, make that a little bit smaller. Just a little bit bigger. I'm just trying to get them about the same width. Let's try 65. Perfect. Okay, so I think that we should probably change the color of this a bit. So we might need to go back out to our main comp and grab those swatches. So let's do that really quickly. I'm gonna unlock those. Hit Control-C to copy them. Come back in here, and we'll just paste them right above that solid, and lock that all down. And let's go ahead and make this bit of text that yellow color. So just eyedrop that. Okay, so that looks great. I'm really happy with the way that this appears. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my 3D switches, and let's add our camera. So we'll come up here, go to Layer, New Camera, and you default to a 2-node camera. But if I change it to a 1-node camera, then we're going to have a little bit better control, and we won't have to use a null object. And we're not going to be doing any really intense camera animation as far as changing the orientation of the camera or anything like that. So we don't need a null. We'll just stick with that 1-node camera. Go ahead and say OK. And let's just start animating. So select your camera, hit the P key to bring up your position. And I'd like to start a little bit further back, just like this. Let's set a keyframe here. And then we'll just zoom in as he says humans and our activities. So I'm going to go back out to my main Coral infographic, and let's figure out how far in we need to zoom as he says activity. So we actually need our script to be in our other comp as well. So what I'm going to do for that is let's come up here, grab that 3D camera movements and drop it on, and just figure out here where that needs to begin. I'm just scrubbing, holding Control. It's right about here. So let's just pull this forward. Humans. Perfect. Okay, so we want our script to cut in right about here. So what I'm going to do is we'll come down here, grab the script, unlock it, and we're going to duplicate it. So hit Control D to duplicate. And then I need to trim it right here because that's where that other comp begins. So we'll hit Alt, open bracket, and then we're going to drag it all the way back to the beginning of this comp. You can just hold Shift so it snaps in place. Then we'll hit Control X to cut it from here. We'll go back into that 3D movements comp and hit Control V, and that pastes it exactly where it needs to be so that the script in here is lining up with the outside as well. Now we want to make sure that out here the audio is turned off for this layer so we don't double up and it doesn't get too loud. So you can just turn it off now because we still have audio on the outside. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the 0 key to just kind of watch this and just listen to what the script says.
Humans in our activities are actually the largest threat to...
Okay, so we need to zoom in a bit.
Humans in our activities are... Humans in our activities...
Okay, so right here is where I'm ready for that zoom to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll pull this in and just line it up about halfway in there.
Humans in our activities are actually...
So humans in our activities is coming on right about there. And humans in our activities, I'm just going to fade on. So let's go ahead and hit the T key. Change the stacking order just to make that a little bit easier to read. We'll go ahead and set keys at 100 and pull those keys forward. And then we'll take them down to 0 here at the beginning. And I'm just going to move our activities forward just a bit.
Humans in our activities are actually largest...
Perfect.
Humans in our activities are...
Now that actually might be a little bit slow on the camera, so I'm going to pull the camera back a little bit more.
Humans in our activities are...
Okay, so right here is where I want to change to the are actually piece of text, and I want this to rotate. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the rotation of my camera. Let's hit Shift R to bring that up. We'll set an orientation keyframe. And let's just give this about 10 frames to move. So hold Shift and hit page down. And we're going to be rotating our camera on the Z axis. So it's that last value. You can just start to drag that back to 90. You can hold Shift and it'll snap to 90 for you. And then I also want my position to scoot over like this and up like this. So humans in our activities are actually is what's going to be in here next. And if you don't want to line this up with your title action safe in this far upper left corner, you could even bring it down a little bit and over a little bit more, just like that. And that will probably give you just a little bit more breathing room on the edge. So that probably looks just a little bit better.
Our activities are actually...
Let's pull this out a little bit. Now what starts to happen here is our camera movement sort of has a little bit of a dip in it. And that's because the spatial interpolation of the camera is set up to be something different than linear, and I want it to be linear. So I'm going to go ahead and select those position keyframes. We'll go up to Animation, go to Keyframe Interpolation, and sure enough, spatial interpolation is set to Auto Bezier. So change that to linear, and that's going to fix that kind of swoop for you. So now it's just going to zoom straight in and then turn this.
Our activities are actually...
Now I want that are actually to be spun a little bit sooner, so I'm going to move these over here.
Humans in our activities are...
So let's maybe pull these forward just a bit. Just kind of working on the timing here.
Humans in our activities are...
See if we can't move these as well, just so they're on the same frame.
Our activities are actually... actually the
Perfect. So that's going to hit right in time to say our actually. And I think we have just a little bit more time. We can go ahead and add that statement. So just type in the words are actually. And let's make these not be all caps. And we can track those back into 0. Let's change this from regular to bold italic. And then we'll bring that up a bit. Let's go ahead and turn on our 3D switch. Jumped it over there, and we need to rotate it so it's going to be along this line. So we'll grab that rotation tool, just grab the Z handle and rotate that so it's flat. You can hold shift to snap it into place. And let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. Perfect. I'm going to move it up just a bit so that alignment doesn't look so off. Even though this is a little bit higher, since it's the only thing aligned, when this grid is turned off, it just looks a little bit better. So let's turn that back on because we're going to use it.
our activities are actually.
And as our actually is being revealed, or as the camera's turning, let's reveal the words are actually. So I'm going to pull that down just so my camera stays on top. And we'll hit the T key to bring that up. Perfect. Just like that.
Activities are actually the largest.
Okay, so then we're going to move on from our actually to the largest threat to coral. So we have a little bit more to animate here, but you've kind of got the idea of just how we got that started. And at the end of getting all of our text together, we'll go back in and kind of smooth out those camera keyframes so that doesn't feel so harsh. But we're just kind of getting everything blocked out for now, sort of tweaking the timing as we work, and then at the end we'll smooth everything just a little bit better. So in our next lesson, we'll finish up animating that 3D text.